Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Society. My name is Kelly Asprooth-Jackson, and I am one of the ministers here. Today I am joined by my colleague, the Reverend Kelly Crocker, and by the worship team of Linda Warren, Heather Thorpe, Stephen Gregorius, and Daniel Carnes, as well as by our teen choir. The vision of FUS is growing souls, connecting with one another, and embodying our UU values in our lives, our community, and our world. If you are visiting us today, welcome. We are so very glad that you are with us.
Yes, we are.
All right. If you'd like some more information about who we are and what we're about, please stop by the welcome table. It's located out in the commons through those doors. We hope that you will also be able to stay with us for coffee hour immediately after the service, also in the commons. And during coffee hour today, our Healthy Congregation team will be hosting a facilitated discussion in the library, which is straight that way. If you would like a chance to talk with others in a smaller group, please join them. For those connecting with us virtually this morning, we are glad that you are with us as well, and we hope that you will be able to take a moment and watch the announcement slides after today's service to learn more about upcoming programs and activities. Our Autumn Fest Cabaret is 1 week from yesterday, and I want to let you know that it is one of our most important and beloved annual community events, and this year's will be full of food and fun, lots of opportunities to bid on some incredible items at both the live and silent auction. Like Holy Compost, that's one example. Another example that I might point to is that your ministers are offering a Mardi Gras themed meal prepared by them. Just saying. It is not too late to donate to the auctions. Cheryl is taking items until this coming Tuesday. Please do join us next Saturday. Food trucks, a petting zoo, kids raffles. It's going to be a blast. Tickets are still available. Please see the red floors for details. And now I invite you to join me in a moment of silence to center ourselves and bring ourselves fully into this time as we join together once again in community.
Thresholds. We cross them every day, from room to room, from outside to inside and back again, from here to there, from anywhere to everywhere, from age to age.
Each threshold offers an opportunity for change, for renewal, for transformation from what we were and what we are to what we can be.
In this hour and in this place, we cross a threshold from our day-to-day everydayness into a space and a time attuned to the other, to the sacred, to the holy, into an awareness of new life, abundant with possibilities.
How will we be renewed in this moment? How will we be changed by this hour? How will we be transformed through this gathering of beloved community? Come, let us worship together.
And we invite you now to rise in all the ways we do, joining in our words of affirmation as we light our chalice. We light this chalice in honor of first steps, for beginning even when the path ahead is unclear, for the courage it takes to trust that the way will reveal itself, that light will come to clarify our vision, that friends will be by our side. May the words, song, stillness, and common breath of this hour remind us that every step of the way is never won we take alone. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Please join me in singing hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. My life flows on in endless song, above this lamentation. I hear the reel, the far off hymn, that is a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me rolls? I know my truth prevails. What though the darkness round me grows? Stars in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they Please be seated. And I would like to invite anyone who'd come up closer for our story to come on up. I need your help today. We're going to tell a story together, so I need your help. Some of you heard this yesterday if you're in the choirs. Hi. Hello. How many of you were in the choir, the cherub choir, the choristers yesterday, so you know what is about to happen right now? Have you been thinking about it overnight so you can help me out with this story? You have? Oh, thank you, Winnie. Yes. All right, well, how many of you know the story of the Frog Prince? You do? What do you know about the story? There's a lot of different versions, but some things always stay the same. What's the story of the Frog Prince? Right. Okay, so here's what we know. The frog needs help changing back into a prince, and usually that happens with a princess. Right, Elliot?
Yeah.
What do you think?
The princess throws the frog on the wall.
Oh, you heard this yesterday, Elliot. You're going to give away the big ending, aren't you? Let's see. Let's see what we come up with today. So, our theme this month, we're in a brand new month. Contrary to what radio stations may be telling you, this is November. Has anyone else noticed what's happened on the radio stations? I've found 3 so far.
Christmas
What is that about? Christmas music. Today's November 6th. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah.
Almost everything was Christmas, and there wasn't a single thing except
Right. There was a little bit of leftover Halloween candy, but everything else in the stores has turned to Christmas.
can I tell you something?
You can tell me anything. Yeah.
Okay, so when I was at the store,
Yeah.
when I was in my car, so my dad, he was turning it to 105.1.
105.1.
Yeah.
Did you get jingle bells?
The upper Diego, it was the music, it was Christmas music, but then the day before that, it wasn't.
It wasn't. I noticed it Friday. I put on 105.1 and they were singing Silver Bells and I almost had to pull over. I was so upset. This is not okay. All right, so Thea thinks we need Thanksgiving music. I'm here for this, Thea. Is there any Thanksgiving music? All right, okay, we'll get back to the Frog Prince here. So, gobble, gobble, gobble. The theme of November is change. And so, thinking about change, I thought about the Frog Prince because he needs a change, right? And I thought we could tell this one, but do a twist. So I'm going to ask for your help. I'm going to tell you what I know, and then we're going to work together to change the ending. Let's see how you would end the story. So, how does every fairy tale begin? Once upon a time, there was a princess who was so beautiful that even the sun, who could see everything in the world, was amazed by her beauty. And on warm days, she would go sit by a cool well and she would play with her favorite toy, which was a golden ball. And she would toss the ball into the air and catch it over and over again. And one day, instead of catching it, the ball falls into the bottom of the deep, dark well. It is too deep and too dark for her to figure out how to get that ball, so she starts to cry. And then she hears a voice that asks her, "What's the matter?" Who do you think the voice was? Frog. The frog. The frog's poking his head out from inside the well, and she says that her ball just fell into the well, and he said, "Well, I can get it for you. What will you give me in exchange for my help?" So the princess says, "I'll give you anything that you want. I just need to have my ball back." So he said, "I would like to be your companion. I'd like to come back to the castle with you. I'd like to eat at the table. I'd like to sleep on a pillow. I want to spend our days together." And the princess thinks, "I just want my ball back." So she agrees and says, "Okay, that sounds great." Frog jumps in the well, frog gets the ball, brings it back out. Princess takes the ball, runs back to the castle, completely forgetting about the frog. So the next day, there's a loud knock on the castle door. The princess goes to open it up, and who's there? The frog. And the frog is yelling, "Let me in." She opens it, sees the frog, slams the door in his face, goes back to breakfast, acts like nothing has happened. And the king says, "Who's at the door?" So she tells him, "It's a frog and the well and the ball. He got the ball. I said he could be my companion. There's no way that's happening." And the king says, "You have to follow through on your promises. If you promise that to the frog, you need to go let him in." The frog comes in, he sits next to her, eats right off of her plate. She loses her appetite and says, "I'm going to my room." He says, "You have to take me with you." She says, "No way, Mr. Frog." And the king says, "You have to follow through on your promises." So she picks him up like this by one leg, and she's carrying him to the room. Does she put him on the pillow? No, she just tosses him over in the corner. Foop. And he said, "Either put me on the pillow or I'm going to call the king." So she's kind of fed up at this point, right? I don't think she's in any mood to kiss this frog. So what do you think happens next? How would you go from frog in the corner, princess super mad, to Somehow the princess turns the prince into frog prince. How are you going to get from the frog in the corner to the end of this story? Somebody make it end.
There's strawberry steps in there, and then space potato and space pickle.
No space potato. At the 4:30 service, the solution was a space potato. No, Thea, we will not speak of this again. Max, help me out, buddy. You don't? What do you mean you don't? You just don't finish the story. I am too much of a control freak to have that happen, Max. I need closure here. Yes. No, no one's allowed to say those words. What do you think? Mashed potatoes. All right. They decide to have mashed potatoes for dinner that night. We can do this. Yeah. Okay, you guys got to hear this because I think this may be my favorite all-time ending to the story. So there is a witch who works in the castle but is a friendly witch. And so the princess wants to help the frog, asks the witch to put a magic potion in the mashed potatoes they're having for dinner tonight. We're going to wrap it all together. And the frog eating the mashed potatoes can turn into anything he wants, and he decides he turns back into a prince. I love that ending. And you know what I really love about it? The princess is the one who talks with the witch and asks for help for the frog. Because here's what I want you to remember. We are changing all the time. We're not the same people we were a week ago. Maybe we're not the same people we were when we woke up this morning. Things are always changing around us too, right? Change is something we can always count on. When we are changing and when changes are happening around us, most of the time what we need is help. So when you are changing or trying to change or the world feels like it's changing around you, ask for help and find a friend. Thank you so much. We're going to hang out right here, and we're going to listen to the teen choir, and then when they're done singing, you can head to class.
My sisters
When the waves roll on,
I invite you now into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to this offering which sustains and strengthens our community here, and also our outreach offering recipient, who this week is the Urban League of Greater Madison. The Urban League's mission is to ensure that African Americans and other community members are educated, employed, and empowered to live well, advance professionally, and contribute to the common good in the 21st century. The Urban League serves its mission through programs supporting those seeking work and pursuing home ownership, parenting classes and support groups, youth tutoring, and a variety of other community-centered programs. There are multiple ways to share your gifts this morning. There are baskets at the exits to this room in which you can place cash or checks. You can also donate through our website, fusmadison.org, and find the text to give information on the screen as well. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we create together.
In a book of meditations called Breaking and Blessing, the Reverend Sean Parker Dennison writes a letter to us on behalf of our better angels. The letter goes like this. Dear one, we have received your letter and we hate to tell you, not hate so much, but are a bit afraid to say we cannot grant your requests as stated, but can only remind you of familiar things. First, faith. Faith in yourself and trust in others. We know it can be terrifying to be vulnerable, but only when you share your softest side will we be able to break through. Next, hope. Hope is not an empty fairy tale. It is the true story of all the times human beings like you have found a way to create the future, though you didn't know how. And of course, love. Love that demands you cherish all people, not just yourself and safety. Love that is not satisfied until every argument ends abruptly when one child says that hurts. There is so much to learn and relearn. The world teaches you to be hard, to negotiate and defend, to avoid giving too much and to the wrong people. There are no wrong people. You also are not wrong. And when you encounter the poor, the broken, the unhoused, and unwelcome, you are looking, if you pay attention, at us, calling you to answer your own prayers. If you want to change the world, first be sure you are changing yourself. Be tender, be kind, be at peace, be all the things you wish for. Be your own better self. It isn't without cost, but it will be free. There's so much I wonder about this letter. First and foremost, I wonder what the original letter to our better angels was all about. What were the requests that could not be granted? What was being asked of them? I would like to hazard a guess that those requests might be coming from a place of supplication over unwanted changes in a life, or about changes that needed to be made in a life that someone did not want to make. The letter comes from our better angels, and I think it's safe to say that Sean is not talking about celestial winged beings. He's writing a letter from our better selves, the people we hope we will be when necessary, the people who know how true it is that if we want to change the world, we must be sure we are changing ourselves. The Reverend Jen Crow, senior minister at First Universalist in Minneapolis, tells the story of a woman she knew whose greeting, rather than saying, "Hello, nice to see you, how are you?" was, "If you're not changing, you're dying." And after that, she might add, "Living things change, dead things don't. If you're not changing, you're dying." She's not wrong. Living things change, dead things don't. Change is undeniable. It is inevitable. It is as much a part of being human as breathing. We can't stop it. We may not always see it coming. Yet we often resist it and fight against it as much as we can. How many changes have you experienced just in the past 2.5 years? Think only of what used to be the simple act of grocery shopping. How those rules were constantly shifting. At one point, you may have gone from what was an ordinary activity that didn't take much thought to learning how to shop online or learning what curbside pickup meant, to then shopping with arrows on the floor. Remember those days? avoiding aisles that already held another shopper, to a gradual return to what may once again feel ordinary. And that is one small aspect of our lives. So much has changed and continues to change every day. On Tuesday, we head to the polls for another election day. You may have already voted, or you may be waiting to cast your ballot this week, but whatever happens, whatever the outcome, we know changes will come once again. And on top of all that's happening in our world, there are constant changes in our own lives. How many of you have had a significant change in your life just in the past year? Right? I know that I've had several. Some I have needed to make, changes that have needed to happen for more than a decade or more, and some that I never would have wanted. You would think that we'd be so used to it now. Change is a universal truth that we recognize and anticipate at any moment. We can be flexible, right? We can do this. But friends, change is hard. Let's be honest, even with changes that we choose, we can still have anxiety, resistance, fatigue, fear, discomfort, uncertainty, and doubt. Change can wear us down and throw us deeply off balance. Change can make us feel as if we are lost in the wilderness. In the letter from our better angels, there were 3 suggestions to working with change, 3 reminders to us from our better selves. And that's to remember faith, hope, and love. B.J. Miller is the executive director of the Zen Hospice Project in San Francisco. Now, when he was in college, a freak electrical accident with a stationary commuter train left him without one arm and both legs. In that moment, life as he knew it was over, and everything changed. He has this to say: "There was an intuitive piece of coming to grips with this, and there was a long period of trying to make sense of things. I was trying to process it all and reframe myself, and I realized I needed to reframe my relationship to the world around me so that I could fit into it again. I remember asking myself, I've lost 3 body parts. Does that make me less of a person? By volume, yes, but not in any other way. What I came to realize is that we need to come to terms with all that we do not control. There's a big difference between things that you choose to do and things that happen to you, that are the result of forces larger than you. I can yield to Mother Nature. I can yield to the 11,000 volts that shot through my body, causing my injuries. There's a way we need to acknowledge that there are always forces out of our control. Yet it doesn't mean that you are nothing in this equation. You may be a drop in the bucket in the grand scheme, but the bucket would be different without you in it. There's a challenge for us. We have a capacity as human beings to change ourselves and to change the things around us. The challenge is to know which pieces are ours to change and then to decide how we will respond. There are moments in this life that will be out of our control. There will be changes in our lives that we do not wish, and we will try to push away with everything we have. So much of this life is out of our control. Over the past 2 years, we have learned this to be true. We know it in our bones. We have no idea what tomorrow or next week or this coming year will bring. How many of us have said 2021 is going to be a better year. 2022, here it comes. How many of us are just trying to slide into 2023 quietly, hoping no one notices? This is where faith enters the equation. Faith in yourself and trust in others. When changes arrive at your door, whether ones you choose or ones that arrive unannounced, what we can control is how we greet them, how we invite them in, how we respond to their presence in our lives. Believing in ourselves and our own ability to adapt, to grow, to be transformed in some way by this new arrival. B.J. Miller said it beautifully. When change arrives, there's a reworking and there is pain, and it is an ongoing process. Yet we humans can do this beautifully with creativity. We can believe in what is ours to do, and in the end, we will be able to say, let death be what takes us, not lack of imagination. I think back to our story of the Frog Prince and how he must have longed for change, how hard it must have been for him to hold on to hope. And what did the angels say? Hope is not an empty fairy tale. It is the true story of all the times human beings like you have found a way to create the future, though you didn't know how. Buddhism teaches what is called wise hope, and I think it is helpful for us as we consider change. Wise hope is learning how to see things as they are, seeing the reality of a situation and not turning away, not pushing it away, not resisting or fighting it, but seeing how we can transform and be transformed by it. Our frog needed transformation, a change back into who he truly was. And he found a way, though he didn't know quite how it would happen, neither did we actually, he found a way to create a different future. Wise hope is unprescribed, it is spontaneous, it is not attached to an outcome. It is a response of the imagination to the realities of this life and all that it entails. It is the courage to hold on to possibility in the face of constant change. Letting go of what we cannot control, faith that we can creatively work with what we can, hope that we will find a way through the wilderness to the new. So much of this is grounded in the last reminder from the angels to remember the power of love. Now, some of you know that there's been a change in my family recently, with my father receiving a cancer diagnosis. This is a change we did not and do not want to welcome in. A change in his health that we would do anything to make different. I'm grateful for the treatment he's receiving, the hope it's bringing to all of us that he is handling treatment well and that he's in good spirits. Yet this change really does put things into perspective. The poet Christopher Wiseman wrote a poem called Bedside Manners, and it's been on my mind quite a bit recently. How little the dying seem to need. A drink, perhaps. A little food, a smile, a hand to hold, medication, a change of clothes, an unspoken understanding about what's happening. You think it would be more, much more, something more difficult for us to help with in this great disruption. But perhaps it is because as the huge shape rears up higher and darker each hour, they are anxious that we should see it too and try to show us with a hand squeeze. We panic to do more for them, and especially when it's your father and his eyes are far away and your tears are all down your face and clothes and he doesn't see them now but smiles. Perhaps, just perhaps because you're there. how little he needs. Just love, more love. There is so much clarity that arrives in these moments of perhaps our greatest change, the transition from life to death. Amid the changes of these days, this is what I'm trying to remember. I'm letting go of what I can't control. I'm putting faith in doctors and nurses and treatment plans and the resiliency of my dad. I'm hoping for creative answers to very complicated questions, staying with the pain of it all, shaping myself in relationship to this change I would not choose, and remembering that what he needs now is love, just more love. We know we resist and struggle with change because letting go of what we know is difficult work. Letting go of what we love is painful. Living in the wilderness is unstable. When change arrives, we are no longer who we were, but we are not yet who we will become. There's a waiting, an absence, a disorientation. We want to rush through this time, yet it is here, in this time of being lost, where we can experience the renewal necessary to begin again. Times of change can be times of discovery and creativity, learning, integration, healing, wholeness. Working with the changes that come into our lives can be seen as holy, sacred work. In the parable of the sower, Octavia Butler writes, "All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change." Now, that language may not work for you, but the underlying sentiment is one I hope you can translate into a language that works for you and that you can somehow be curious about. Because despite how disorienting, how painful, how difficult change can be, it can also be holy. Octavia Butler also wrote, "God exists to be shaped." What I love about that statement is the power within it when you put the two pieces together. If God is change and God exists to be shaped, change exists to be shaped. We can work with shaping the changes we choose to make, and we can shape ourselves in relationship to the changes we do not make and the changes we would never choose. As I told the kids, we're not the same people we were 10 years ago, 10 months ago, maybe even 10 minutes ago. We are always changing in small ways and large. So as the changes keep coming, and as we keep changing, may we remember, if you want to change the world, first be sure you are changing yourself. Be tender, be kind, be at peace, be all the things you wish for, be your own better self. It isn't without cost, but it will be free.
Down yonder green valley where streamlets meander, when twilight is fading, I pensively rove, or at the bright noontide in solitude wander, amid the dark shades of the lonely ash grove. 'Twas there the blackbird was joyfully singing, I first met my
Each week we gather, bringing with us the joys and losses of recent days. We share these here, knowing that we are held in love. We light a candle to share in the joy of the Pusser and Heitman families as they celebrate a wedding. Best wishes to all. Marla Shoup asks us to light a candle today in remembrance of Joy Wigert and the beautiful love and music she brought into the world. Skylar asks us to light a candle of joy and gratitude for her mom, Debbie, who 3 years ago was diagnosed with breast cancer and today is doing well. We join their family in celebrating Debbie's good health. Susie and Sandy De Beers ask us to light a candle of joy and welcome for the birth of their granddaughter, Penelope Marie De Beers in Minneapolis. Penelope joins Alex, Laura, and sister Olivia at home on Saturday. Welcome to the world, Penelope, and congratulations, Susie and Sandy. And we light a candle in solidarity with the people of Ukraine, both in their suffering and in their struggle. Together we yearn for peace for them and for all people, and for an end to all wars of conquest anywhere and everywhere on earth. And now I invite you to join me in an attitude of meditation and of prayer. For those of us who are tired, who come to this moment slouching under the burdens of our silent sufferings, who move weighed down by needs unmet, dreams unfulfilled, truths unspoken or unheard. For those of us who are glad at life, who arrive at this moment lifted by the buoyancy of a grateful heart and by blessings enough to be grateful for. For those of us who are lost and uncertain, whom this moment finds seeking clarity or purpose, looking for a place to be or a way to be or a new version of ourselves to be. For those who are beyond the limits of these words, who do not hear them, do not know that they are said, but nonetheless need a place of belonging and a community of care in which to reside. For each of us, for everyone, we join our hearts into a common aspiration for freedom, both from injustice and from suffering, for peace, both within and between ourselves, and for wellness, both wellness of the body and wellness of the spirit. Our shared yearning may not make all of this so, but that is no reason to stop. Instead, it is a reason to begin. Amen.
Please rise in all the ways that we do and join us in singing hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and each other. May we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. Blessed be, go in peace, and please be seated for the postlude.
Sheep